Hello, and welcome to Make Your Business Unstoppable Against Ransomware. Today's webinar is sponsored by Rubrik and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Scott Becker. I'm from Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator for this special event. Now, before we get to today's great content, we do have a few housekeeping items that will help you get the most out of this session. First off, we want this to be an informative event for you, so we encourage any questions in the questions box in our webinar control panel. This will be a short, sort of bite-sized presentation, so we won't have a live Q&A portion at the end, but we'll be sure to get all of your questions over to the Rubrik team so they can get back to you. The Q&A panel is also the place to let us know about any technical issues that you might be experiencing. A browser refresh will fix most audio, video, and slide advancement issues, but if that doesn't work, just let us know in the Q&A, and we'll provide further technical assistance. Now, second, in the handout section of your webinar control panel, you'll find that we're offering several resources. We've got 3 great PDFs from Rubrik in the console. There's a ransomware customer ebook, there's a Zero Trust Data Security for Dummies ebook, and a data security paper from the analysts at ESG. There's also a link to the Gorilla Guide Book Club where you can get access to Actual Tech Media's great printed resources on technology topics, as well as a link to the ATM Events Center, which has our calendar of upcoming events. So I encourage you to access those resources now and share them with your friends and colleagues. Third, at the end of this webinar event, we will be awarding a $300 Amazon gift card to one lucky registrant. Now, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for that prize. The official terms and conditions of today's prize drawing can be found in your handouts section. Scroll to the bottom and you'll find the prize terms and conditions link there. And with that, let's get to today's fantastic content. So it is my pleasure to introduce you to our presenter today. We have Murthy with us from Rubrik. He's a Senior Director of Product Marketing there. So Murthy, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you very much to our audience today for attending today's webinar on making your business unstoppable against ransomware. My name is Murthy Prakasam. I'm a Senior Director of Product Marketing here at Rubrik. And I want to kind of walk you through a little bit of some of the challenges that organizations are facing today, particularly with things like ransomware, and some of the kind of unique capabilities that Rubrik offers and how we've been helping a lot of organizations be better prepared and also respond more effectively to this emerging threat. So let's dig right in. So there's a number of ways to think about sort of this new emerging world that especially I think accelerated during the last couple of years of the pandemic. Obviously, digital transformation is something that is people have been talking about that for over a decade now, but especially over the last couple of years, there's just been such increased digitization of applications of data. Digital footprints for organizations have just risen very, very quickly. The consequence of this is that because there's a greater attack surface for organizations, they're just getting hit by ransomware a lot more. So almost 2/3 of organizations were hit by ransomware over the last year. This is from a report that came out earlier this year as well. And the average cost to remediate when you do get attacked. So, first of all, more than half of organizations are getting attacked. If you get attacked, the average cost to remediate that attack could be over $1 million. Obviously, depending on the size of the company and the amount of data and applications that were affected. But that's a lot of money. This is not a small problem, and not one that organizations can really shy away from. And to make matters worse, the actual time it takes to recover is almost about a month. So again, depending on the industry you're in, that's just not tolerable. If you're in healthcare, financial services, any of these sort of mission critical industries, or even otherwise, nobody wants to have their business literally be down for over a month. It's just painful. There's direct costs and indirect costs associated with that. Regulatory issues, again, depending on the industry. So there's just a number of reasons why this kind of status quo just isn't working for organizations. It's very, very clear. So one of the things that ends up happening in these, especially in these ransomware attacks, is that organizations end up getting stuck paying a ransom. And there's a couple reasons for that. So typically an attacker will come in, they'll encrypt the data, and so that it makes the data, applications unavailable for the end user organization. So some organizations, they just give up immediately and they say, there's no chance of us being able to recover on our own, so we'll just go ahead and pay the ransom. What some other organizations do is they take kind of the longer path, which is they think, well, let's actually try recovering and kind of avoid having to pay the ransom. But what ends up happening is that process is so complicated and so siloed. You've got IT operations teams that are involved, you've got security operations teams that are involved, and there's a whole series of questions that have to be answered in the process of that recovery that may just not be easy to answer. And that's one of the reasons why, in the previous slide, you saw that 1 month long recovery. Because even the organizations that have the courage to actually attempt a recovery, they end up finding that there's so many of these difficult challenges that come up along the ways that it ends up taking a month anyways. So neither one of these paths is the desirable path. We really want to help organizations be more resilient, be more prepared, and have a kind of a safer and faster approach to being able to recover. So this is where Rubrik comes in. So Rubrik's company has been around a couple of years, really early pioneer in the data protection space. But over the last couple of years, we've really built on that leadership in data protection to really become more of a data security company. So our mission really is about securing your data wherever it lives. We know that organizations do not keep all of their data and applications in one place. So wherever that data is, wherever the applications are, that we have tools that enable you to secure that data so that, God forbid, you are attacked, you're able to recover very easily, and therefore making your business unstoppable. And we kind of organize our platform and our portfolio into 3 categories, and I'll kind of walk you through each of these separate categories. But the idea really is about thinking about this problem end to end. Not just focusing on one particular sub area like data loss prevention or data classification, or like really thinking about this problem in a very holistic way, so that everything from being able to secure your data, being able to continuously monitor that for potential threats, to then finally being able to surgically recover, that we can provide all of that in one unified platform. And again, as I said at the beginning, it applies to data wherever that data is. So let me kind of walk you through why some of these areas are so challenging for organizations, and then obviously how are we making that less challenging through our solutions. So first of all, when you think about the area of data resilience, so this is an area that's been a big area challenge for organizations, because what happens is attackers are smart. They recognize that backups are going to be your first line of defense. So what do? They try to go and encrypt the backup itself. So there's a number of different questions that organizations struggle with when they're thinking about a backup environment. Are there fail-safes? Can the retention rules that we have be tampered with? Can admin accounts be compromised? Backups be modified, deleted? Can it be seen, made exposed by bad actors? Can it be discovered by bad actors? So all of these are good examples of some of the challenges and the questions that organizations face when thinking about whether they have data resilience. Well, so we've addressed some of this in our solution. Basically, what we've done is we've taken a robust set of security controls and embedded that directly into our platform. So none of this is like extra capabilities. This is like a core part of the architecture of how Rubrik works. So what we want to do is to be able to secure your data and your applications from these various external threats through a number of different technologies. And I'll go through this very quickly. You can certainly come to our website and get even more technical detail behind each of these. But for example, we've got, just going around the wheel here, so to speak, a logical air gap. So it turns out, like, a lot of people talk about air gaps, but there's always like some way that you can sort of breach those air gaps. And so we've actually built an air gap that's based on network protocols that are completely proprietary. So nobody knows except for Rubrik how we actually exchange data inside and outside of the environment, which inherently provides a form of security. Number 2, we've got encryption like all across the board here. Data in transit, data at rest, all of it is encrypted with strong keys. So obviously encryption is just a must-have these days in terms of storing the data. It is immutable by design. So that means that data cannot be changed even by the admin. So we have our own file system that actually has this sort of append-only notion where you can, as you have like updates, the updates don't actually overwrite the previous writes that have occurred. And so that means that you can't fundamentally modify the data, which also means obviously an attacker can't modify the data. There's access control all across the board. Obviously, that's another one of those must-haves in a platform. Granular role-based access control. We also have multi-factor authentication, TOTP. All of this is built into the platform again. So, like, there's just, it's all stuff that you basically configure when you're setting up Rubrik. So it's part of the system itself. Retention lock, making sure that only the right people can actually set and reset data retention policies. Because that's another one of the attack patterns, is that the attackers will come in, they'll try to reset the retention so that the backups expire, and then you have no way to recover. And finally, the intelligent data lock. So we actually have an intelligent data, like kind of a recycle bin, because sometimes even good people will inadvertently delete something that you didn't want deleted. So we've actually thought about that problem. We've got a way that we can securely hold data in this sort of recycle bin notion, so that, God forbid, if there was a mistake, that you can actually recover from the mistake as well. Because it's not all about external threats. We have to consider the fact that we're all human, and sometimes these things can happen very accidentally as well. So very robust kind of data resilience solution to make sure we're meeting the kind of needs and the severity of the threats that we're seeing these days. If we move on to the second pillar, which is around data observability, some of the questions here. Have there been unusual deletions or modifications of the data? Have the files and applications been affected in an attack? When did malware first enter the backups? Sometimes you've been attacked. That's not enough. You need to know really when it started in time so that you can actually go back to the appropriate restore point. And finally, was there sensitive data that was affected in the attack as well? Lots of good questions. And again, a lot of these sort of passive backup systems, they kind of store the data, but they don't really tell you much about the data. And they don't give you the ability to interrogate it and analyze it and kind of understand what's really going on, which is very, very helpful and necessary, both in terms of preparation, but even more so in terms of responding to attacks. So the way that Rubrik kind of addresses this is we provide this kind of platform that continuously monitors your data for all of these sort of bad things, whether it's ransomware, whether it's about sensitive data being exposed, being able to find indicators of compromised. I won't read every single word on the slide, but you can kind of get a sense of some of the things that we do in terms of scanning the backups in multiple directions. So scanning across snapshots so we can really zoom into what the blast radius of an attack was. That way you know exactly what was affected in that attack. We can also scan across time, which is another dimension. So we can actually spot what was the first or last most recent sort of clean snapshot that would make for a good restore point. We can look at, we can look kind of longitudinally and look at, is there sensitive data anywhere across the snapshot? So multiple ways that we can scan the data so we can get better understanding, and all that understanding just simply helps with investigation and remediation cycles. The last area is, of course, data remediation. So data remediation, again, a couple of questions that, kind of keep people up at night. Things like, how can I recover data without reintroducing malware? How can I surgically recover just what I need? Because nobody has time to sit and wait for an entire snapshot maybe to be restored. How do I automate the recovery of just the most critical applications? So a lot of questions, around how do you be safer? How can you recover faster? All these are the key challenges that organizations face. So again, we offer a number of different capabilities that really help facilitate this. Because the idea that we want to get to is that we're not just this passive backup system. Like, you can actually go in very surgically, find exactly what it is, at the file level, at an object level, to figure out what it is you want to restore. And we can do this very, very fast because, a lot of recovery procedures actually, either by compliance mandate or even just internal controls, like, you actually want to automate these processes so that your teams aren't figuring them out on the fly. That's actually one of the biggest things that can delay recovery, is when everybody's, you're staffing it kind of randomly. People don't know how to do the recovery. They're kind of figuring out the process as they go along. So easy way to deal with that is just to automate the process. And that way it's just a blueprint. Everybody knows how it's supposed to work. And then when you need to pull the trigger, you can actually pull it, and that it's going to actually work as intended. So you can see some of the benefits there. And we have a number of different capabilities that really help to drive speed as well as safety. So all of this, like I said, it comes together in one unified platform. And that's what really makes Rubrik so great. These aren't like separate disjointed capabilities. You can obviously purchase at various levels, and if you don't need everything all at once. But it's all part of one fundamental Rubrik Security Cloud platform. And so we have a number of capabilities. We're of course constantly expanding these capabilities as well. But again, the idea is to think about this problem in a very comprehensive way, because historically there's been vendors that sort of focus on one aspect of a problem. They try to do the scanning on the production environment, which just taxes that environment. So there's just a number of sort of antiquated approaches to solving this, and that's probably why you're still seeing the 1 month long recovery cycles, the $1 million costs. So I think we have a kind of an interesting approach here that really leverages the backup environment as an offline environment to conduct some of this analysis, to implement some of this automation, so that in the end, God forbid that you are attacked, you're able to recover as quickly and as safely as possible. So one other way to kind of think about the impact of Rubrik, like a lot of organizations have some notion of a independent incident response cycle. And so the way to kind of think about this is, as you think about this sort of incident response cycle, we've got capabilities all across that cycle. All the way from resilience to looking at observability and remediation. We can facilitate these cycles at every step. And we also integrate with external systems like SIEM and SOAR systems. So all of this just kind of, again, goes back to the message of us being very, very comprehensive, keeping the data as safe as possible, and making it very, very easy to recover as well. Just to summarize a little bit, I know I raced through this very, very quickly. Obviously, you can come to our website to get even more detail. But at a summary, really what we offer is the ability to keep your data defended against cyber threats, about making sure those cyber threats are monitored proactively, continuously, and analyzed very, very quickly, and about making sure that your business operations are recovered, hopefully within a matter of hours, and not a matter of a month that we're seeing in the surveys right now. And one way to actually think about that recovery within hours is to actually look at a real customer. So this is really what the whole presentation is about. Can you afford to wait? Can you actually afford to wait weeks and months, as appears to be the case through the surveys right now? And if you're in an industry, whether it's due to regulatory pressure or just other business pressures that can't afford to wait, then we invite you to kind of become more like Rubrik here, where if you look at the quote here from one of our leading customers, when they got attacked, not only did they not have to pay a ransom, they had zero data loss, and they were fully recovered within 24 hours. So this is the kind of resilience and preparedness that we really, really want to be helping organizations achieve. And we invite you to learn more about Rubrik so that hopefully your organization can achieve that level of resilience as well. With that, I want to thank you very much for your time today. I hope this was some useful information for you. Like I said, please definitely check out www.rubrik.com for more information. And thank you very much for your time today.
Okay, thanks, Murthy. I like that "Don't Pay the Ransom" logo that you had over your shoulder there. That was a really informative presentation. Great overview of the Rubrik Security Cloud and how it helps defend against ransomware. So you've given us a lot to think about today. We really appreciate your time. And okay, everybody, remember to grab any resources that interested you from the handout section. A lot of those dive into what Murthy was talking about. Again, there's a ransomware customer ebook, a ZTDS for Dummies ebook, and a data security paper from ESG. Finally, it's time for the $300 Amazon gift card prize drawing. And the winner of that gift card today is James Elsmore from Ohio. So congratulations to James. We'll be in touch to get you your card. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank Rubrik for making this event possible. And thanks, as always, for attending. That concludes today's event. Have a great rest of your day.